Continuing with our coverage of gold and silver in the Capital 10X interview series, we're pleased to be joined by Shawn Khunkhun, CEO of Dolly Varden Silver, to discuss their drilling program and other developments with the company. So, Shawn, how does this year's drilling program compare to 2022 in terms of rigs and meters to drill?
Yeah, so in 2022, we had just acquired Homestake, and really we wanted to de-risk the asset we just purchased. And it was an inaugural drill season at Homestake, and the goals last year were really to de-risk, to expand, and then to discover. So we had three objectives last year. So we started off with a 30,000 meter drill program. We had a ton of success at the Wolf deposit. And so we ended up going to the board and expanding the drill program. We ended up doing 37,000 meters in 108 drill holes. And really last year was a year where it was marked by the success at Wolf, so the big strike length extensions, the big step out expansions, and then 1.5 kilometers away at the Kitsall vein, which is the highest grade silver portion of the deposit, which is part of the Torbrit mine. And then up on the ridge at Homestake, we delivered like some exceptional gold drill intercepts, 27 grams of gold and 468 grams of silver over 9 meters, and also the big whopping drill hole, which was the 46 grams of gold over 25 meters. So last year was a year where we just acquired this asset. We went up to de-risk it, and the goal was threefold. The difference this year is we're starting with a total of 4 rigs turning. We have a 5th rig on standby. We've outlined 45,000 meters, although my team's got targets for 70,000 meters of drilling. And essentially, the real focus this year, the one sort of differentiator is this is more of a year of growth. Where last year it was like, okay, let's focus on converting ounces from the inferred category to the measured and indicated. This year is like, let's wrap our arms around how big this project can be. Is this a 1 billion ounce silver camp? Can we wrap our arms around proving that?
Which deposits have the most room for resource expansion in your view?
It's a really good question. Off the top, we got 7 deposits. And I look at Wolf as having the greatest potential to grow from what it is to what it can be. I think it's going to rival Torbrit. Torbrit is a 50 million ounce plus silver deposit and still growing. So I think Wolf's going to have that type of potential. But really, it's not about the deposits that I want to grow. It's the deposits I want to discover. So getting back to this idea of periodicity. So every 1.4 kilometers, we've got another deposit, but then we have a 5.5 kilometer gap. My goal is to find 3 more deposits and to take our total from 7 to 10.
Is Homestake Silver underexplored compared to Homestake Main?
100%. You sound like Andrew Hamilton on our team, who is one of our resource geologists, who's like, we have unfinished business at Homestake Silver. We must go in there. And we drilled a hole last year, and it was such a successful year with the big numbers, like the 1,500 grams of silver over 16 meters at Wolf, and we had monster numbers at Torbrit, 50 meters of 414 grams of silver, like monster numbers. But one of the things that just kind of got lost was we had a 200 meter step out hit at Homestake Silver. 200 meter step out, inaugural drill program for the team at Dolly Varden. So yeah, I've got so much unfinished business at Homestake Silver. I was going to call it HS, as we call it here internally. And so yeah, really looking forward to getting up on that ridge and doing work there.
Of all your targets this year, which area would have the biggest impact on resources should you see favorable results? Is it Wolf or something else?
When I think of Wolf, and I think of a wolf being like this big, we've got a target called Moose, right? And it's just up from Wolf. And I promised my team I wouldn't talk too much about Moose. I don't want to create too many, I don't want to create the bar of expectations too high. But this is a juicy looking target, and I think it's going to be has the potential to just be another Torbrit-like system on the project. But I guess to answer your question, where I think our team is most confident, where we're sending those drill rigs initially, where we have a lot of areas to fill in is at Wolf.
Shawn, how important would success at the Moose Vein be for defining the overall trend?
So for me, it's really important, but like who am I? I've got to look at my scientists, and one of our most talented scientists on the board is my best friend Rob McLeod, and Rob is a third generation miner from Stewart. And when Rob talks about Dolly Varden going to the next level, or to really answer your question about importance and where we get most traction, he talks about the 1.4 kilometer gap in between Wolf and Torbrit. So what Rob wants to see is he wants to see us really expanding that zone, and he feels like if we can show that those two deposits are connected, they're on the same dip, there's a lot of similarities there, same structure, he thinks that would just blow this right out of the water.
Okay, this sounds like on a risk versus return basis that one could end up being even better, even though the prospectivity of a Moose Vein hit is very high.
I almost look at it like this. There are multiple areas that could be what takes that could lead to the watershed moment and for the dam to burst. And it could be up at Homestake, it could be in that 5.5 kilometer zone that's never been adequately explored. It could be on the horizon from Wolf to Torbrit. I think, and I think with 45,000 meters of drilling, our team's got a lot of, they've got a lot of drill holes where they can put it together. So, I really feel like we're on the edge of something really, really, really big here this season. And the nice thing is, we've got such a large high-grade resource anyways, that if you just took what we had and you started modeling what it could mean in terms of life of mine or future production, there's some pretty exciting and robust economics that are emerging.
Of all the new targets at the Wolf Vein, which do you think are the most important for expanding the resource and or your understanding of the deposit?
Well, I think the question is this a parallel vein? Is this an extension? I think, one of the things that we're going to learn this year is there's different outcomes. And at the end of the day, we know we've identified a system that's growing down plunge. It's also growing off to the northeast. But, I guess it's a really question of how many ounces are we going to add? Are we going to add 10 million, 50 million, 100 million? Whatever outcome we come up with, it's going to be positive, but it's just a question of how big and rich is this system going to be when it blows out and comes together.
What resource updates or drafting of new resource reports can we expect after the 2023 drilling campaign?
It's a really good question, because the way we approached last year's season was some of the drill spacing was just too wide to incorporate into a resource estimate. And I don't have any hard dates in terms of I need to deliver a new updated resource estimate by, fill in the blank. So I'm really going to allow the program to drive, for example, if we're stepping out and making discoveries, I think it's important to really understand and wrap our arms around how big this project is, instead of just pin cushioning and drilling in a way to bring ounces on paper. I think for the acquiring companies that look at Dolly Varden, or development stage companies, producing companies, they're going to wrap their own estimates around what they think this is, depending on if they're a gold focused company, whether they're a silver focused company, depending on what type of miner they are. But I think ultimately, to answer your question, at the end of this season, we may take a look and ask ourselves if it's time to update that, and then more importantly, put that new estimate and put some economics around it and deliver a PEA.
So you're basically saying you're willing to wait to make sure that the drill information you get is of the highest quality, so that when you do update these resource reports, you're not just doing it to make a number higher. You want it to be something reliable and higher quality.
What I'm really saying is, if I have a certain amount of meters and we're chasing veins and we're having success, like, I would rather have larger step outs that show a larger system than merely tightly spaced drill holes. We're not trying to put together a mine plan. We're trying to understand, is this the next Eskay Creek? Is this the next Bruce Jack? Those are the questions I'm trying to answer.
All right, that's a great clarification on basically what the strategy is. Shawn, it was great to speak with you about your ambitious drilling program. We'd love to get back to you about it soon. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me on.